March 24th, 2020. And we are still in the middle of coronavirus crisis in the United States here. And so I wanted to address a couple of things that may be beneficial for you guys to know. And it doesn't really matter, what kind of businesses you're running. If you're in e-commerce, if you have some issues with supply chains, if you are a local business who has that has issues, making certain payments in time, making your payroll, making all kinds of things happen. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Let me just check here. I don't really expect much of an audience on this live stream right now because this is the very first time really I'm sending this over to YouTube. I wanted to test out different ways to stream and see where we get a little bit the most traction. I'm going to try it on my personal profile. I've done several over the past few days over on. Okay, this is actually working. So the audio is running. That's good. If you're on live right now, go ahead and leave a comment so I can see you. Say hi. If you're online. So let's see. This is, I have to check if this is how this works with that. I think it works as expected. Okay, so this is actually all pretty good. I like streaming live to YouTube. It's a good thing, and I've shared the link to it in on my different Facebook places. And let's see, so it's good. It's all good here. Okay, so a couple of things. So number one, people are asking about Truckify and our software business and so forth. The good news there is that our users are, we're losing some users. That's because people are giving up on their e-commerce shops. We see a lot of closed shops where, it's like, okay, people are halting their Shopify e-commerce stores for the time being. And that can have different individual reasons. Overall, we're seeing that our users and e-commerce shops, Shopify shops in general, are doing really quite well. There's still several. It really depends on what you're selling and where you're getting your inventory from. And Facebook ads in general have become cheaper to run. I don't know if you've noticed even a reduction in ad exposure, or what kind of ads you're getting in your own Facebook newsfeed. For me, it has noticeably changed, and there are a lot of ads that I haven't seen in a very long time that kind of are from more fringe topics, I would say. Of course, there are some like home gym equipment. I see that a lot, and other things that are really kind of catering to the situation where people are stuck at home. Obviously, the most important part is that you have your supply chain dialed in. Either you have suppliers that are still producing and can still deliver to wherever you need to ship it, or you may have inventory in your warehousing, and warehouses are considered essential services, so they're typically open as long as you can supply them with inventory. You shouldn't have a problem on the warehouse side. There are a lot of things for small businesses right now that are open for negotiation. So there's a lot of items that you can approach the people that you owe payments to, mainly all on top of all credit card companies, right? Even when you have to continue, or when it makes sense to continue to spend to run Facebook ads and spend the money they're outgoing, there's a very good chance that your credit card company, if you're running these payments through credit cards, that they will actually defer the payment, allow you to delay the payment. I heard up to like 8 weeks, something like that. So that would be very helpful, obviously, right? So if you're in a position where you have something that is still working, or that is working well, or where you can, just brainstorm, sit down with yourself and come up with something that people need right now, where you can actually add value to your community or to the people that you have access to, either through your audiences on Facebook or through your email lists that you have collected, or whatever it may be. Just provide that. Think about what you do. I mean, even like the larger companies, they're making major changes right now in the way they're running their production facilities, even to the extent that they're producing completely different things than they normally produce, right? For example, hand sanitizer instead of beer or alcoholic beverages. That's an example that comes to mind. Or I read somewhere that Tesla just delivered 1,000 breathing apparatuses for hospitals. And so they just retooled their things, their operations. They kept their operations going, but cranked out a completely different product that didn't seem like it was related or even possible to make with the same kind of facilities. So get some inspiration, focus on the news and the news items, like the stories, the anecdotal evidence of where entrepreneurs are creative and creatively overcome the obstacles that are in the way, in the path of your normal day-to-day businesses and operations, and just look for the things that are possible for you to do if you just refocus, do a little bit of a mind shift, refocus your attention into what's next. Another thing to do is focus on something that's going. So if you're in a position where right now it doesn't make a lot of sense to run ads, let's say because you're out of inventory or because your supply chain is interrupted for one reason or another. I heard that even some operators that are in the print-on-demand niche in general, or supply chain, I should say, has been forced to shut down operations for a couple of weeks. So obviously, if you're working with that supplier, you're going to experience a bit of a crunch in being able to fulfill orders that are placed now. So in this case, what you could do is think about, all right, we're going to slow down for however long it takes for them to resume operations. You could obviously also see if you can substitute the orders that can't be fulfilled right now and substitute the supply chain from somewhere else. There are other print-on-demand operations that are still up and running, and you might be able to fill in the gap. You actually, aside from this current situation with coronavirus, this kind of thing happens in e-commerce a lot. It happened almost to every one of us who had at some point in their marketer career, in their e-commerce marketing career, a situation where they were unexpectedly and suddenly more successful than they thought and than they had prepared for, or that their suppliers had prepared for. And I remember a few years back, we had operations. Well, every time I built something, I built a brand or I built a store that got very successful very quickly, I ran into that snag where whatever supply chain I had set up characteristically and typically broke down when the marketing just kind of was leaning forward and was all of a sudden getting so successful that whatever supply chain was in place couldn't keep up. Okay. And there are ways, even in a fairly rigid Shopify setup, to divert designs in print-on-demand, for example, designs and fulfillment, so that another fulfillment company, another printer, can crank them out temporarily, right? So I wouldn't at all, by any means, recommend that you abandon your current supplier for good, but just find a solution for your own business and for your own customers that fills in where you can fill in the gap with a temporary solution, and then reset everything again once everything moves forward. I'm actually generally quite optimistic about the whole lockdown and shutdown that we have more or less nationwide right now, not lasting as long as some of the really dreary prognostications are telling us. I don't really think that's going to happen that way. I see a lot of signs of manipulation on the badness of news and the fear in that's being stoked in the news. So I think that they probably won't be able to sustain that for very long, because the tide will turn on the actual real image that we're going to get from the actual spread of the disease. But that's another topic for another day. So another thing that you can do, and that we really have started doing that very intensely, you know, our software operations, as I mentioned in the beginning, we're losing some users because a lot of e-commerce shops, I should say, it's not a lot as a percentage, but it's more than usual. There's a more than usual decline in closed shops, right? Because people are just shutting their e-commerce stores, be it temporary or be it for good. They're closing shop, and with that, the users get out. We actually have tons of new installs every day. And so what we've done is, and I just want to mention that as a role model or as an example for what you can do too, is really reached out and try to improve on our onboarding, our hand-holding, our, making our users, making our customers feel that they're being taken care of, that they find solutions if they run into some issues. We always try to do that, but we've really consciously intensified that and intensified this outreach. So we have around the clock now running webinars for Trackify, Master Trackify in 30 minutes. If you're new to Trackify, you should get into one of those and really get oriented. We're monitoring these webinars all the time for questions. They're automated, but they're good. You can ask live questions there and you get answers if you have any questions that aren't already answered on the webinar anyway. So there's that takes a half an hour. And then there's also an advanced webinar that really goes into the nitty-gritty of how to leverage all the data that Trackify generates and how to build better audiences. And that's where we really do feel that Trackify is an essential app for your e-commerce shops, and not something that could easily be eliminated on the cost end, because it actually contributes more than it costs, by far more value to your pixel data and to your audience leverage. So because of that, so we've more outreach and webinars for our users, for new users that come in. We've done more extra hours in customer service hours so that people can get responses, live responses, faster and more and quicker and more intensely. We have opened up our Trackify X Slack team. Let me actually open this here for you real quick so you can see it, and I'll share this link here with you. Our Slack team is open, currently open for free access for all Trackify users. And in that Slack team, you have some awesome content there that you can brush up on and start preparing for when your business is going to come back. And it will come back. E-commerce is overall very strong. It is now leaning towards preferring certain types of products, and maybe other types of products are not so strong at this present time. But even if you stick with the products that have worked well for you just a couple of weeks ago, they will also come back. So it's a good idea to brush up on your skills, on your chops, on your understanding of how audiences work, how targeting works, how retargeting works, and all of that. So there are lots of things already accessible immediately in our Slack team. Our Trackify Slack team looks kind of like this. Hold on, this is not quite the right one here. Here's the one. So you can see there are new people coming in. We have private message channels going on. We have the Entrepreneur Edge here, where we have entrepreneur interviews. There's one here with my friend Scott Rayleigh that is live, and you have access to this. You have access to this 2020 analytics workshop, to the recordings for that. There are lots of videos here that were live call recordings. And so these things are really good for you to focus on shaping your skills. Learn something new that you can continue to use in your business and leverage in your business once it's time to really focus outward again, and run more Facebook ads, build better audiences, and so forth. So you can access all these things here. I posted the link, so you can get access to the Slack team. So these are just some examples for what you can do too, what you also can do for your business. I'm going to hide myself here for a minute because I actually want to show you something here real quick and give you just a quick glimpse of how you can use the analytics feature in Trackify now to find the best audiences that are working, right? This is just a little bit of sample data here, but you can see what's going on. Whatever date range you choose, you have the tags that you have in your shop show up here for every event type. And here you can drill this down and go into a certain date range and find what kind of event type for what kind of tag, what tags is a good event type to build great audiences, right? And audience building in Facebook is done for three main purposes. You build custom audiences so that you can retarget them directly, the actual users that have taken a certain action in your shop. For example, chosen a different variant in your in one of your products, right? Even different color or different size or just a different variant, whatever your variants are. For these actions, we fire in Trackify, we fire this customized product event, right? And this is obviously an event that is added by Trackify, but it's obviously an event type that signals higher interest and higher interaction, higher engagement of the people that triggered that event in your shop. So this would be an awesome event to focus on, and then just identify what tag and or what product has had enough of these event types that you can build custom audiences from them. So custom audiences for retargeting is one main purpose. Then custom audiences for eliminating them from your cold traffic ads. That will give you better, more thorough reach, new reach into new audiences who haven't seen your ad yet. If you eliminate the audiences, the people from your cold traffic ads that have already taken some actions in your shop. And the next and maybe the most important leverage point for custom audiences is that you can use them as base audiences to build lookalike audiences from them. So these are audiences that resemble those base audiences. And with that, you can then make your cold traffic ads work so much better if you can just target new people who don't know anything about your products or your shop yet, and you can target them as cold audiences, but they're pre-qualified and pre-filtered to be most similar to the audiences who have taken already certain actions in your shop. So in this case, you'd be looking for event types and tags that have at least 100, better yet 300 or so, or a little bit more audience members than this, events than this. And then you would just simply grab this tag here, remember this tag, and go for the product type, and then go over to the audience manager and create a new custom audience in the custom audience builder right here. So here you would select your ad account in your pixel and name the audience. And let's say this is the beer tag audience. So I'm going to put this in here, right? This. Then you select the event types that you want to target. So let's say you've identified the customized product event as a good event to go after with this audience. And then I would just also, create audiences at the same time for these other event types here. So now you have four separate audiences that will be created, right? Then here you select content name contains, and then here you just type in the tag that you've seen over in the analytics page. All right. So that's that. And now here's the biggest kicker is you can now create these audiences with different look back periods. And what that means is how long the people who have triggered a certain event will stay in this audience until they get removed from the audience again, right? So if someone triggers the customized product event with the beer tag today, they will stay in this 7-day audience for 7 days. And after 7 days, they'll be removed from it. If you create a 30-day audience and they trigger the event today, they'll be removed from this audience 30 days from now, and so forth. And you can use all these different audiences for the different purposes that I just mentioned, right? So if you want to retarget this audience for 7 days, you use this audience, 7 days. If you want to build a lookalike audience, maybe the best audience size to pick for that would be the 30-day audience, okay? And so that's how it works. Then you hit create custom audience, and in this particular setting here with 3 lookback periods selected and 4 audiences, you will get 3 times 4, that's 12 audiences will be created here with a click of a single button. So this is just one of the awesome features where Truckify really puts the things together. It like where all of a sudden everything makes sense. We create these specific events with specific data, tag-specific data, extra event data that makes it possible for you to more granularly target and retarget and identify and segment the people that have gone through your store and taken certain actions. And then we let you, build the audiences, use them for retargeting, use them to improve your scaling because they improve the lookalike audiences that you use for cold traffic ads. And that's how you get an edge over your competition using Truckify. Okay, so that's just a quick glimpse here on how Truckify is actually an essential app in any economy, but particularly when the going gets a little tougher, like it is now. So hopefully this touch point today has been somewhat interesting for you and given you some new ideas and some new ways to, hopefully think about your business and not lose hope and take some specific actions that can help you improve your business further. By the way, if you're in a position where you're a local business or an e-commerce business or anything like that, and you're interested in acquiring some skills around doing live broadcasts or live sessions with smaller groups or one-on-one or larger groups, just shoot us a message and we'll be happy to help you out. Just to get your stuff started. Our live streams work quite well, and so we know how to do it, and we'll be happy to share the knowledge that we have there. So with that said, thanks all for watching. I'll touch base with you tomorrow. Keep an eye out on the Facebook pages and Facebook groups. I'll post either the live stream will be on Facebook again, or there will be a link to the live stream, and we'll do it at noontime Central Time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Sorry, yeah, 1 p.m. 10 a.m. Pacific Time tomorrow. Okay, great. So good to see you. Take care, and I'll see you soon.